In this video, we will see how NIC segments are defined in pod and container blueprints. NIC segments are often also referred as networks in pod and container blueprints. At a high level, NIC segments could be defined at the pod level, or NIC segments could be defined at the container level. We will take a look at an example of each type and also other types of NIC segments that can be created in pod and container blueprints. Let's take a look at a pod level NIC segment to understand how a pod level NIC segment is defined and what are all the resources associated. Here I have a pod level NIC segment named Management NIC. It has got a network name which is in general used to refer the network name. It has an address pool associated with it from which addresses are derived when a virtual NIC is attached to the NIC segment. It has got a VLAN associated with it, which is the management VLAN, which in turn retrieves a specific VLAN from an associated VLAN. There are two flags that indicates what type of NIC segment is defined in the pod blueprint. The first flag is the customer flag, indicating whether this NIC segment is of type data or customer network. In this case, since this is a pod level network, this has been marked as management flag true. A NIC segment is always associated with a port type blueprint, which may be defined in one or more pod nodes. In this example, the NIC segment is defined on the access switch 1 using the management port type. Since on the port type blueprint, there is a NIC segment name defined, this is directly linked. The name within switch identifies the port group on the given pod node to which the virtual machines can be connected. Now we will take a look at a NIC segment in the container blueprint. Here I have a NIC segment defined in the container blueprint. All of the properties of the NIC segment looks similar to what and how it looks like in the pod blueprint, except that NIC segment at the container level has two additional properties, which are default enable flag and the locked flag. The default enable flag indicates whether the NIC segment is enabled when the container is created, and the locked flag indicates whether this NIC segment can be toggled during or after the container is created. There is a special type of NIC segment that can be defined in the container blueprint, which is used to represent external networks in the container. In this example, we have a external NIC segment defined having default network address and mask. This also has a network name and the tag that can be used in BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management. External networks typically do not have any port types since this is an external network in the environment. Container level NIC segments also have action info blueprints and unconfigure action info blueprints associated with each pod node wherever the port type is associated. These configure and unconfigure action info blueprints help administrators to define specific commands that will run against the network devices when the container is created or when the container is deleted. In this case, one could have the commands that will run on the access switch to create necessary port groups and assign VLANs. As part of container deletion, commands will run against the hypervisor switch to delete the port group and to ensure that any entity that was created as part of the container creation is cleaned up. For more details, please take a look at our online documentation. Thank you for watching.